You're going to love today's guest. She was a high school dropout at age 17 from a small town in Alabama, moved to New York City to become a model, got her GED, and then went on to get 2 master's degrees. Today, Andy Paige is a best-selling author of the book Style on a Shoestring. She's a QVC host and appears on General Hospital. She's known for giving fashion and beauty tips on a budget. So she gives us so many of those today. She also includes the gift that she's giving all her friends. You're not going to want to miss a minute of this episode. Who's the person you're being? Are you satisfied? Welcome to Be the Person, a podcast for the brave and the curious, for people ready to explore their true potential. I'm your host, Annie Randall. Join me and let's get ready to go on this journey together. Welcome to Be the Person podcast. We are in for such a treat today. I have Andy Paige with us, and Andy comes to us from Massachusetts, but she is in General Hospital. She is a best-selling author. She has so many beauty and fashion tips for us. Welcome, Andy, to the podcast.
Thank you so much. It's a thrill to be with you. I mean, who doesn't want to be on a podcast called Be the Person? I want to be the person. So yeah, I want tips too, man.
We'll give them together today. But let's start off and just tell us a little bit about you, because I know a little bit, but it's such a fascinating story. So I would love to learn more.
There's a lot to it. I've had a pretty big life. I'm 54. And you mentioned that I'm the latest cast member on General Hospital. This is my very first acting job. So I am honored to be a part of this legacy program. It's the longest running show in television history. It still garners almost 3 million viewers a day. And I am starting my acting career alongside Morgan Fairchild, which is unbelievable. But previous to this, as you mentioned, I'm a best-selling author. I have a book that is still relevant and used in over 14 countries called Style on a Shoestring. I've done hundreds of makeover television in the early 2000s when everyone was into makeover television. I was a part of a show called 10 Years Younger. I also was a really big part of an NBC show called Starting Over, where I helped women start over on the image side of things. I come from a really small town in Alabama. So I've got a big Southern roots, but I'm a high school dropout. I moved to New York at 17 to be a model and to start my career in that way. And I got my GED and got into school, and I have a double master's in media studies and broadcast journalism. I thought I wanted to be a sportscaster. So I have loved sports my whole life, but God took me in a different direction. And currently, of course, I'm at General Hospital, but I'm also a guest host on QVC. I come into people's homes every day to sell them new and interesting, fabulous products that I love. I have, like I said, a very interesting and diverse life with lots of experience, and I look forward to lots more because I want to live to be 100.
Me too. So that's awesome. I love that. And I love that you weren't afraid just to jump into acting, even though it wasn't your background. I mean, you had things that played into it, but you just jumped right in and started in your 50s.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's so many things I still want to do. And I have to be honest. I mean, I took that acting class in college, just like everybody else, thinking, oh, maybe one day. I mean, I thought, yeah, I didn't dismiss it, but I have spent most of my life in front of the camera, very much being myself. So it is very different taking on the role of someone else. But to be fair, the role that I'm playing is that of a home shopping host, which is something that I do on QVC, that they did link me and were interested in me because of my experience in that way. It's not like I am taking on a big movie role. I am taking on something that is very comfortable for me. So even though I'm not saying the words I would choose, I'm saying the words someone's written, it's still exciting. And I mean, I would encourage your listeners, there's so many things still on my bucket list. So I don't say no to anything. As a matter of fact, I hate the word no. If you reach out to me and let's try something, I'm going to say yes, because I'm going to try.
I love that. I think so many times at life, we quit living, and to have a bucket list, I'm the same way of like, let's go until you can't anymore of all these things you want to do and accomplish. I love that about you.
What's on your bucket list, Anne?
One of the things next year, it's always been Machu Picchu to go and hike. And so I just released last week a trip. I'm taking people to go and hike Machu Picchu. So that's on my bucket list, and I'm sharing it with others.
Oh my gosh, I love that. You just released that last week,
I
and
did.
have you signed up a lot of people?
I have 8 going so far. So there's room for you if you want to come.
I was going to say, I actually may know someone who signed up. It is a very small world, but I literally just had a conversation with someone last Thursday who told me she's going on a hiking trip to Machu Picchu.
Okay, we'll talk afterwards. Maybe she's on my trip.
That's awesome. That's amazing. Congratulations. That's a great bucket list achievement. That's terrific.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about, I know that getting on General Hospital was a contact you had from several years earlier. And I so appreciated that because all the things that you show up to, I can just tell you work so hard and give your very best. Even today, we were talking before, and you're like, I'm going to do my very best. Tell me a little bit about that and that attitude, where it came from.
I'm a big God girl. And I was fortunate enough to be raised by my grandparents. I lost my grandmother a couple of days ago, so I'm so sorry. But they were older. So my grandmother was 98. I thought for sure she was going to make it to 100. But my grandparents were hardworking. They were born in the 20s. They went through the Depression. They had very little. And I'm so fortunate that they just instilled a work ethic in me and a belief that God was going to take care of me and that I knew right from wrong. And in that split second that it takes to make a decision of the right choice or the wrong choice, I needed to be on the side of good and right. And I have just walked in faith and with the belief that I'm going to be okay. So because of that faith that they instilled in me and the work ethic, I've taken a lot of risks, you know what I mean? Risks in starting General Hospital or starting a business or writing a book or just a belief that I'm going to try and I'm going to try my hardest. And if I fail, it's okay. At least I've learned a lot of lessons and it will help me in my next adventure. So to that end, to add to your question, your original question, I am fortunate that I did so much reality television in the early 2000s. And reality television at that point, I was doing a daily. And on that daily, it's a huge production. There were 5 producers every single day. So that's 35 producers that I worked with for 3 years doing Starting Over. And all of those producers went on to do other work. And I'm so very fortunate that core group of people who got to see me every day work hard and try and show up my best self and make things better and not worse and trying to be a problem solver. They all went on to new projects. And so when the time came for them to think about someone to add to their team or thinking about someone to add to a project, I am very fortunate that I have been a positive thought for many of those people. And General Hospital is that case. There are 2 producers that are now at General Hospital that used to work with me and other shows and just remember me as someone who was kind and helpful. And so I was on the short list for this particular production as well. So it goes back to, again, showing up, being on time, making sure that you're not the smartest person in the room, but you're the most curious person in the room, and lending a hand wherever possible, not being afraid of any job or any task. I am perfectly happy if you need me to sweep the floor, as I am. You need me to open a box, as you need me to stand in front of the camera and do a live stream. So I will do anything to make whatever I'm a part of a little bit better. And that really resonates. And so I'm very fortunate that at my age, I am still enjoying the fruit of a lot of the seeds that I've been able to plant.
I think that's such an important message for so many people because sometimes you're in a job that maybe isn't your favorite, that you don't love to do, but the fact that you show up anyway and you do your very best and you keep showing up, it reminds me, I'm going to mess up the Bible verse, but I just sent it to my college kids about you don't do the work for yourself, but you do it to God because I'm a faith girl as well. And it doesn't matter if it's work you want to do today, you do it the very best you can because 1, it's for the Lord. And 2, you never know what door it's going to open in the future. It could be, in your case, like an acting job that you would have never got otherwise.
Like never. I literally like got a text on a Thursday and I was like cast on ABC on a Tuesday. I mean, it was crazy. And I literally haven't talked to these people in 20 years. So yeah, it is to act, to be of service. And the other thing that I was taught, actually, this lesson really came from my bonus mom, is she would tell me always that there is value in all work. There is value in all work. You are contributing, you are not being lazy, you are helping in some way. And I do believe that's the case. And I know that I have college aged kids as well. And there's a huge trend right now with like ghosting people. And just, it's almost like we're in a generation, or we're dealing with a generation of youth who are accustomed to hitting game over and just stopping the game. And they have this belief that everything can stop and you just start a new game. And that's not your life. That is not your life. There is no stopping the game. The game will continue, and you never know who and how the people in your life are going to show up and help you or remember you as not being someone who wanted to play. So it's important not to ghost and to just do your best.
Absolutely. I can't tell you, that's a whole new thing that has come out in these next or past few years that is new and so relevant when we're hiring for Orange Theory. A lot of times you'll get through the process and then be ghosted. And again, it was like, oh my gosh, where did they go? And what happened to just saying, got another job, or just communicate? It's okay.
Yeah, it's really amazing. The other thing that I have been so interested in lately, Anne, is, I know this sounds crazy because I'm happily married, but I am so invested in what's going on in dating. I know that sounds crazy, but it's my latest kind of obsession. And yeah, the fact that people don't have the courage to have difficult conversations, and that they're not being taught the skills to push through that uncomfort and be honest, not make something up, but be honest about their feelings and the situation, and just be like, it's okay that I'm feeling this way. It's okay that you're feeling this way. And let's just be honest, be kind, and move on. So we're seeing that ghosting or not showing up or just game over, or however you want to phrase it, in so many aspects of life right now. And it is worrisome.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll be listening and hearing how important it really is to not do that and to show up as your full self. Let's switch gears just a little bit because I am super interested. I read it online, Style on a Shoestring. And where did that idea come from for you?
Yeah, again, it's back to my grandmother. Sorry. But I was raised by my grandparents. My grandmother was a master sewer, and I could flip through a Vogue and pull something out, and we would go to the Hancock's fabric or do a deep dive into her bin of textiles, and she could create something for me in an afternoon. And it was wonderful because I don't really come from a wealthy means or anything. I mean, I was raised in a very minimalistic, small way. But my grandmother had a belief that the way that I showed up and how I presented myself very much affected how people perceived me and how I would be treated. So it was very important to her that we always look polished and pulled together, and she made beautiful things for me. As a high school dropout who moved to New York at 17 and got involved in a very glamorous world, I was very aware that I was going to be treated like a barefoot dropout from Alabama if I couldn't pull myself together visually. So I started with the tips and tricks that my grandmother taught me. I started really building a wardrobe of very inexpensive items that had perceived value and that I could pull together in a way that would level the playing field for me and help me move within this environment with a little more ease and with, like I said, perceived value. And so that was very important. So then I started building these skills. When I became a beauty and style expert in television, those are the skills that I pulled from, Anne. I mean, I was teaching women how to look like a million without spending a fortune, utilizing all of the skills that came from a dirt road in Alabama and dumpster diving sometimes and the Goodwill and all of that. But how I was able to do it for myself is what I was teaching basically in television. And was my co-host and my producers and all of the people that I worked with, they were like, these are all skills, because they were great for television segments. And so basically my book is all of the television segments that I did over the lifetime of me doing makeover television. Yeah, there are a lot of tricks and tips there that are from me being a model, from me working as a fit model, for me working with my grandmother, just all of it. So that's where my book came from. And I'm so happy that it's resonated with so many people. It is a bestseller and it has been translated into 3 languages and it's available in 14 countries, which is fantastic.
That is so amazing because I think it's so easy to look fabulous if you have a lot of money. But when you don't, it's a whole different skill set. And I think you bring that to the everyday person. Can you share just a couple of things out of there? Let's say you are coming, somebody's wanting to do exactly what you did at 20. They want to look their best, but they don't have a lot of money. What would you recommend to them?
Yeah, the first thing is you want to choose clothes that fit your body. There's a lot of people tend to swim in their clothes. Let me just back it up a little bit. So when women hit the workforce before women hit the workforce in the 1970s, we made all of our clothes. So we didn't care about size. We didn't care about anything because everything was fit to your body. And then when women started working in the 1970s, ready to wear was invented. And then sizing became important. And there was a whole generalization about sizing. It became much harder to get things to fit your body really well. And the truth of the matter is, for you to look polished and pulled together, you want to look as if your clothes fit you well. And I have said many times that you can buy a $20 blouse and have it altered to fit you for an additional $20. And that $40 will have the perception of a $400 blouse if it fits you well and it's made for your body. Fit is the number one thing that ultimately has implied value, is how it fits your body. Does it look like it was tailored for you? That is without a doubt the number one thing. And then the second thing, believe it or not, is color. Color has a lot of implied value. And oftentimes when I'm working in someone's closet or I'm working on a makeover with someone, their entire closet will be blacks and grays and a lot of non-choices. And I know that a monochromatic look is a great way to look sleek. It's a beautiful way to convey polish. However, if you are young and you want to be perceived as someone who has a point of view and someone who is thinking a little outside the norm, color is a great way to express your lack of fear for choice. And so being bold with like a beautiful wool coat or being bold with a fabulous blazer or not being afraid of color is a great way to stand out without spending an extra dime. Because that color is reflecting to the people around you that you are not afraid of choice, that you're willing to be a flag bearer, that you're willing to be a leader. So both color and fit are 2 things that cost very little that will definitely push you to the front of the pack, especially at a young age.
Yeah, such great tips. And when you're doing color in your wardrobe, would you have, when you're picking out an outfit, maybe just one piece that pops?
Yes, you can of course do it that way. I mean, to just have one pop of color. I mean, I love a monochromatic look that's all one color. Right now, the hue du jour is wine. And I think that wine is beautiful. Olive greens are really big this season. So I also don't think there's anything wrong when you think monochromatic. You don't have to think just black or white. You can think to do an incredibly beautiful monochromatic look at all one really rich jewel tone. But sure, if you're just looking for a pop of color, even if it's just with your shoes or a great handbag, being really secure in making a color choice, I think is fabulous, no matter how small it is.
Okay. I love that and love that advice because I am one of those black and white and gray girls. So I need to look at that and take that and figure out how to add that color back in.
May I just add one more level to that? If you were my client, I would tell you that quite often what black does is it reflects a lack of choice. Because for so many of us, and I know everyone within the sound of my voice is going to relate to this, when you don't know what else to do, you choose black. When you don't, you're not really sure, you choose black. So quite often for many of us, black reflects a lack of choice. So I would encourage you, Anne, to think about your favorite colors and to be bold. You are definitely a leader and lots of people who are listening want to be leader. And this is an easy way to do it.
So good. I have a special trip that I want to invite you on. Jeff and I are hosting a trip to Peru next year. It is September 26th through October 4th. We start out in Lima with a day tour, then fly into the Amazon jungle, tour there for a few days, fly over to Cusco, where we tour the Sacred Valley, the salt mines, and then do a one-day hike to Machu Picchu. If you've ever wanted to see Machu Picchu, now is the time because it's getting more and more restricted. After that, we go back and have the option to hike Rainbow Mountain the next day before we leave Peru. It's going to be such an amazing, fun trip. What I always love about these trips is the community that they form. If you're interested, the link is in the show notes. I love those tips on fashion. Let's talk beauty because a lot of people, I'm turning 50 next year, so we're about the same age, want to look younger as they age. Can you give us some tips there on what to do?
Most definitely. So many of us get really stuck in a time period where we felt the most relevant, we felt the most celebrated, the most successful, the most loved, the most complimented. And being stuck in your look is the number one way to look old. So, what I would encourage you to do every year is think about, do I need to freshen my haircut? Do I need to freshen my hair color? Is it time for me to do something bold and shake things up a little bit? We have a tendency to go a little deeper with our lipstick. Is it time for me to brighten my lipstick? Is my smile the whitest and the brightest that it can be? Do I need to invest in new brushes for my cosmetic routine? One of the things that I really do, and I'm believing in more and more, is red light therapy, which I know with orange therapy you're all about. But red light therapy, I'm finding, has some real value for skin and for just collagen production. And so I'm also doing red light therapy. But so I know that my answer has a few levels here, but it's as small as evaluating and seeing what you can change, as well as the big things. Okay, if red light therapy, even if I do it 3 times a week for 15 minutes at a time, if it can prolong the need for cosmetic surgery or Botox or injections or all of that, then that ultimately is a small investment of time that could be worth it in helping you feel more confident and staying young.
Yeah, so good. And I didn't think about getting stuck, but looking, I can definitely see that happening to myself and to other people I know that are aging. Like, oh my gosh, that's a really good thing to take a look at because it's so easy to do.
Yes, most definitely. And so often we don't want to look like we're desperate to look young. I mean, you and I both have young children or in their 20s. And so I don't want to look like my daughter. But at the same time, I'm not afraid to look at what she's doing and be like, oh, okay, so maybe now I need to brighten my lipstick, or, oh, okay, so a thicker brow is in, so I need to let my brows grow, or I'm blushing in a different way, or so it's just evaluating and wanting to stay current. One of the things that I truly believe is the minute that we think we know everything, we're in trouble. And that's what's going to age us. The more curious and the more eager we are to stay modern and fresh, the longer we'll have some relevance, and it certainly will help us look relevant.
Absolutely. And I think just asking those questions, I'm a big fan of red light therapy as well. And that really is one of the trends. You mentioned a couple others, but if you're thinking beauty, especially looking young, are there any other trends that you're seeing right now?
Yes. So right now it's so interesting. I talked about a monochromatic look in your fashion. There is a huge push for a monochromatic look in your makeup as well. So interestingly enough, my role on General Hospital is as a home shopping host, and Deception Beauty has been a part of General Hospital, and I have been selling and promoting Deception Beauty within that storyline. But one of the products that Deception Beauty has just launched is a product for eyes, lips, and cheeks, which is a huge trend. In other words, it's very simple, but basically the same color that you put on your eyes, you put on your cheeks and you put on your lips. And that actually gives you a flush of color, which is it gives you a very youthful appearance. And that is definitely a trend. And when we think about cosmetics, I want your listeners to know what we are doing with cosmetics is we are mimicking the look of love. Putting on lipstick is actually helping to give you the look of when you want to be kissed, when you're bringing blood to your lips because you want to be kissed, or when your face is flushed because you're in love, or when your eyes dilate because you're looking at someone that you're attracted to. So cosmetics, believe it or not, is really all about creating that look of love. And so eyes, lips, and cheeks is definitely one of those trends that make you look youthful because you're bringing that youthful glow of love back to yourself. So I love this trend, and it's something that we can all adopt.
So good. And that's actually because you are this host on General Hospital, but the website is truly live and you can buy products, correct, off of there?
Yeah, so let's talk about that for just a minute, because one of the reasons why I've been doing this podcast tour, if you will, is it's a new way to promote this amazing kind of innovation that's happening with General Hospital and is looking like it's going to be a part of a lot of other television. General Hospital, again, has had the Deception storyline for a long time, and Deception Beauty is this amazing place where cosmetics are created, and it's run by these gorgeous, beautiful women, and they're high powered. And a lot of the viewers have actually watched the development of many products within the storyline, and even the patent process for red light therapy wands. And it's been an education. And a few years ago, the people at ABC and General Hospital said, I wonder what would happen if we brought Deception Beauty to life. And could this possibly help the show? Could it fortify our viewers? Because viewers have been asking for it for a while. So what has been created within General Hospital is a website that works in tandem with the show, where you can now purchase Deception Beauty. You can, and all the products that are being developed there. But in addition to that, the things that you love on your characters, like their handbags or their jewelry, you can also purchase there. And the reason I think this is so innovative is because we're all watching television in a different way. And as we are wanting to avoid advertising, and we don't want to have to deal with a lot of advertisers, which I completely understand, we're streaming TV. We're not especially watching it on network anymore. But the truth is, it's called a soap opera because soap used to pay for it. How is a show going to sustain itself if the advertisers aren't there and people are looking to avoid advertising? So this is a new way that people are going to be able to participate in the show, consume the show, give feedback, and also help the show sustain itself. When I was pitched this idea, my favorite thing that I was asked was, what would have happened if you could have bought Fonzie's jacket? Or you could have known what Rachel and Monica and Phoebe used in their hair. And those are the questions I was like, oh, yeah, I would be all about that. I would have definitely wanted Fonzie's jacket, and I definitely, or Pinky Tuscadero or whatever. And I definitely would have wanted to know the hair care products that Rachel was using. So this is like the next level of participation TV, if you will.
I love that. It's such an innovative idea, but yet such a great one. And I looked at the website. I'll link it in the show notes. I loved it. And just, I think you're right. It's going to be the next thing of how people are advertising.
Yeah. And how people are participating. I mean, I remember I was absolutely obsessed with this picture that was in Carrie Bradshaw's apartment on Sex and the City. It was this love poster. I wanted it so bad. I researched and did a deep dive, and I never found it. But I still think about it. Like, I'm still talking about it. So to think that now the shows that are being created are going to have a website that's linked, that there's every single part of the show will be consumable, whether it's the clock on the wall or the sofa that they're sitting on or the sheets that they're like getting down having scrunky in. Like almost every part of the show is going to have some aspect of consumability. So I don't think it's a bad thing. I really don't.
No, I think that's fun and a new way to do things. So I'll definitely link to that. What about some inside tips into General Hospital? Because I know it's a world that very few people know about, but tell us a little bit about that. What does like every day look like? What does recording look like? How do you do it? All of the kind of inside scoop.
And it is baptism by fire. You want to talk about my first acting job. So, I mean, it's boot camp for actors because they create 250 hours of scripted television a year, which is just unbelievable. I mean, when you think about the average movie, if they're lucky, can go through 4 or 5 scenes a day, and General Hospital is shooting anywhere from 50 to 60 scenes a day. That's 5060. My first day on the set, I was in scene like 47 and 49. It's crazy. they shoot in 2 blocks from 5 a.m. to noon and then from 1 p.m. to 8 at night. And the amount of dialogue that they get through is just absolutely, it's like unheard of. But it is definitely, you have to go in 100% prepared and knowing that you have got to be ready and you've got to hit your marks. They give you 1 filmed rehearsal and 1 filmed take, and that's it. I will tell you, the last time I was on the set, I did have to do the dreaded 3rd take, and it's only because Morgan Fairchild like advocated for me, because I was like, oh, and she was like, I think I screwed that up too. I believe we need an extra take. And I was like, thank you so much, because they've got a lot to get through. And so you are expected to 100% be on your game. And there are so many hundreds of people behind the scenes that you just, I mean, when you're watching the show, you just don't realize, right? That there are 20 people in wardrobe, and there's 10 makeup artists, and there are 10 hairdressers, and there are camera crews and audio people and editors and producers. I mean, it is such a huge production that you're just dumbfounded. And General Hospital is actually filmed on the same stage as Grey's Anatomy. And so the other really interesting thing is that because they're both hospital shows, they actually share a lot of the same stuff, which is really cool to know.
Oh, that is fun. I had no idea.
Yeah, me either. So I got there and I was like, oh, like there's this amazing General Hospital sign, and then there's the other like Grey's Anatomy. So that's actually pretty cool. And a lot of the background actors can literally go from set to set. So sometimes you'll see Grey Anatomy people within the General Hospital too. So that's actually interesting too.
Very fun. This is going to air right before Christmas, and we're talking about all things beauty and fashion. And I'm just curious on, 1, if there's anything on your Christmas list, and 2, maybe a gift that you're excited to give.
Yes, actually, one of my favorite things to give, and I do this with my friends, because of what I do and because I sell so many interesting things on QVC and I'm privy to a few things, my favorite thing to do is to find the one thing in the past year that has revolutionized or changed my approach in some way. And then I take that and I gift it to all of my friends. So they cannot wait to get my friend gift every year. And I have to say, for your listeners, this is a genius way to gift, because you only have to think about one thing that everyone will be excited about. And many times, I mean, sometimes it has a size, sometimes it doesn't. But for the most part, I don't have to give it a lot of thought. I just need to think of, okay, what have I tried this year? What have I come in contact with? My gift this year to my friends actually is interesting. It is a portable and personal blender. I know that sounds a little crazy, but so it's rechargeable, so you can make smoothies with it. But what I have been doing is I've been making at-home hair care, face, and body care products. So I can take it upstairs, I can whip it up, and I can blend, because it's like a portable blender. I can make almost any home remedies, all of that stuff in this little portable blender. So what I've really gotten into this year is making my own interesting beauty solutions or beauty stuff for my hair, and just potions and lotions and all that stuff. So I am actually gifting this year this amazing portable personal blender that's high powered, it's rechargeable, you can take it camping or whatever, but I've been using it to create my own beauty products.
Oh my gosh, so fun. Can I bug you for the link, and then maybe one of your recipes for a beauty product, because that would be fun to put in with it.
Yeah, I will tell you my number one recipe for staying healthy, and I can give this to anybody, is every single day I have been consuming, for like 2 years now, I've been consuming 2 tablespoons of honey, 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, and 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. And I blend that and in my little blender, and I make little shots. And every day I take that shot. I'm telling you, I have not been sick for 2 years.
Okay, that's good. We'll have to give it a try.
Yeah. So that's one of the quick recipes that I truly believe in. It keeps your body alkaline, and it's done wonders for me. So I kind of love it.
I love it. It's easy, it's cheap. And if you have your blender, it's very doable.
Yeah. Very doable, very doable. And if you blend it all together, it tastes better than it probably sounds.
Yeah. It doesn't sound bad if you do it in like a quick little shot.
Yeah. Yeah. But I definitely believe that a lot of what we need To be our best self is really not that hard. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to come from a doctor. It can come from be yours. And so that's definitely one of them. A small little recipe that's easy.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. And I love that idea of just thinking of one gift that you really love that then you can give all your friends because it makes it so much easier.
Yeah, it does. And they love it. Like they will even start talking to me in the middle of the year about my friend gift. Like, what am I finding? What do I think the friend gift is going to be? So I've been doing that for over a decade. And it takes a lot of the stress out of giving your friends and the people that you love something that's meaningful. It's definitely meaningful to me because I want them to experience the same benefit that I've gotten out of it. But it definitely takes, like I said, a lot of the stress out of it because you certainly want to give in a way that is loving and that will be received in a way that feels nurturing to them. And this is just one of those things that I've done. And I highly encourage it. People love it.
So good. Okay. Well, I'm going to be looking next year for my friend gift. I might copy you
Yeah.
this year.
Welcome
And
to it.
I always end with one or two of your favorite books. Maybe they're your most gifted books. Maybe they're a book that had a really big impact on you. But I'm personally a big reader, so I do it selfishly because I want to know people's favorites.
And I can tell you, first of all, you should know I'm very dyslexic. And I have spent my life really struggling with reading. It took me a lot to write my book. However, there are a few books, and it's hard for me to say this, but there are a few books that I have actually completed in my life because I get very frustrated with the process, which is probably why I do a lot of video. But I will tell you that the book that has had the most impact in my life outside of the Bible would be Rhonda Britton's Fearless Living. So Rhonda Britton was a life coach on starting over, and she, without a doubt, changed my life in many ways. So her book on fearless living really breaks down all of the barriers and where we stop ourselves and how the fear that was built up in us or the mental dialogue that we have created from a very young age, that we've got to teach ourselves and our brain to push through some of that fear so that we can live the life our soul intended, which is her kind of quote, to live the life your soul intended by breaking through the fear. That book was amazing for me, for sure. And there was, if I think about other books over my lifetime that I either had to read or I wanted to read, or I think about The Choice by Og Mandino, which at the time I was 15, and my stepfather said that if I read that book, that he would buy me a car.
Wow.
That's how bad I did like reading, right? And so I read that book, and it was about choice, and it has stuck with me. Life is all about the choices that we make. And every day we have the opportunity to make choices on how we're going to spend our time, on how we're going to impact the people around us, on the kindnesses that we can extend. And so we don't realize that many times that we're making choices, but when you stop and you're like, okay, today I choose to do this. I choose to live this way. These are all, I choose to make my bed. I choose to take a shower. When you take the power back and recognize that not just going through the motions, but you have the ability and the gift of choice, it kind of changes your perspective, and it can reshape things in a different way. So those would be the two books.
So powerful. I have not heard of Fearless Living, so excited to check that one out. And I love Og Mandino. In fact, I have a few of his books on my shelf that my mom encouraged me to read. So I think those are fabulous.
Awesome. I'm glad you're happy with my choice.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we've talked a lot of things, beauty, fashion, looking younger. Any last minute tips as we wrap up that you haven't shared that you're like, oh, I wish the listener, I want to add this in?
Yes, there's a lot of talk about your superpower. There's a lot of talk about why are you here and what are you doing what's the purpose of your life, purpose-driven life, like all of those things. I would think that the easiest and most important thing that people need to remember every day is that it's not that hard to be kind. We are really all struggling with being kind to people who don't think like us, being kind to people that don't look like us, being kind to people that are different from us. And everybody that I know in this world is just doing the best they can with the hand that they were dealt. And I would encourage you that it is a very small thing to just be more kind. If every day you could just be a little more kind, I believe that pays back in spades. And it really doesn't take that much effort. Letting people in traffic, right? Supporting someone with something that fell on the floor, taking someone's shopping cart back to the cart place. It's the little things that will add up, and it makes you feel better. But the common courtesies, the small kindnesses are oftentimes lost. And I would encourage people to add those back into your daily routine and just see how you get it back in spades.
I so appreciate that you said that, because I think a lot of times when we're talking beauty and fashion, we think external. And when you really focus on your heart and internal, that's what people remember and that's what people see. It makes you just so much more beautiful. So I love that you said that.
Thank you.
And a lot of people are going to want to connect with you after this. What's the best way for them to do that?
That's so sweet. I'm going to tell you, and then I have a question for you, if that's okay. The best way to connect with me is andypaige.com. You can also go to shophomeandheart.com, which is the General Hospital shopping site. You can see me there as well. Of course, I'm on all of the expected platforms of Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and all those things. But yeah, you can absolutely reach out to me. My book, again, is Style on the Shoestring. And I actually invented a product called the Girly Go Garter. So you can also find me through thegirlygogarter.com. But so I want to hear what your number one tip to your listeners that maybe I haven't heard. Like, what do you always tell people? And if your listeners are tired of hearing about it, I don't care. I haven't heard it. So I want to know, what's your number one tip that you love to give people?
Mine is probably, I own 3 Orange Theory Fitnesses. And so movement is really important to me. And I would say, again, as we get older, or a lot of times, a lot of my work is at a desk, movement is so important to incorporate into your daily routine. And I schedule it. I schedule it just like a meeting, whether it's a workout class or it's a walk with a friend, or if I know I'm going to be sitting at a desk all day, I will take a lot of my phone calls walking around my block, or I have a walking pad if it's cold. And just movement, I think, is so important. One, it helps us stay strong. It helps us stay at a healthy weight, our blood sugar be regulated, and all of that plays out in how we look. But it's also just your health on the inside is so important. So movement would be my number one.
I love that. I'm so happy that you reminded me of that, because this is the time of year where you're like, oh, I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time. And we have to make the time. And you're right. I mean, to do a double duty, right? Like to go for a walk while you're talking, to go for a walk while you're taking a meeting, to park a little further away so you can at the grocery store, like all of those things. It's very smart. It's very smart.
Yeah. I'm a big Aura Ring fan, and I always track my steps because, again, I can get in trouble sitting all day. And so it's just a really good reminder of like, oh, this is an easy way to move, is to add those things in. And it's important to schedule things for yourself of like, this is a time. It's wonderful that we're giving to everyone and our time and our gifts and all the things, but we need to put us in that schedule too.
So you just said, this is something that I wanted for Christmas. You love the Aura Ring.
I do. I'm wearing it. I'm a big fan of it. And I check it a lot for movement and also for sleep, because as I've gotten older, I've had a harder time sleeping. So it's been really helpful for me to dial that in, like what makes a difference in my sleep, and then how much do I move? So it's a good Christmas ask.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. That is definitely something, but I have to say it's sold out all the time. So it must be people really do love it. So I'm happy to know that you love it too.
Yeah, I do. Andy, thank you so much for joining today. I loved hearing from you, learning from you, such insightful things. So thank you for sharing.
It's my pleasure. I'm glad we had this time, and I hope you have a beautiful holiday and Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you. You too. Thank you everyone for joining Be the Person podcast. Thank you for listening. And always, it would mean the world if you would give us a 5-star review. Thanks for tuning in today.